all. How great did that sound and look? So I am back to introduce our guests for this conversation. Academy Award-winning filmmaker Sofia Coppola has made 8 films, including The Virgin Suicides, Lost in Translation, for which she won an Academy Award for Best Screenplay, Marie Antoinette, Somewhere, The Bling Ring, The Beguiled, whereby she made history as only the 2nd woman to win the Best Director prize at the Cannes Film Festival, On the Rocks, and Priscilla. In addition to her film career, Sofia directed a production of Verdi's classic La Traviata at the Rome Opera House. In 2023, Mac Books released her book, Sofia Coppola Archive, currently in its 5th reprinting. Her new imprint for Mac is Important Flowers. The Academy Award nominated Kirsten Dunst is an American actress with over 40 film credits spanning drama, comedy, action, and television. Her breakout role came at age 12 in Interview with the Vampire, earning a Golden Globe nomination. She went on to star in Jumanji, Drop Dead Gorgeous, which we're playing later this summer, The Virgin Suicides, and the cult hit Bring It On, which we're screening in 2 Saturdays. She played Mary Jane Watson in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, and earned acclaim for roles in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Marie Antoinette, Melancholia, which won her Best Actress at Cannes, and The Power of the Dog, earning Oscar, SAG, and Golden Globe nominations. She recently starred in A24's Civil War, directed by Alex Garland. Join me in welcoming them both to the stage. Welcome. Sofia, Kirsten, thank you both so much for being here this afternoon, and it really is such an honor to have you both at the museum.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here. Thank you for coming and celebrating our 25th anniversary. And I want to say that we had such a making a film was such a collaborative effort, and our team was so great. And Nancy Steiner, the costume designer, I think is here. Nancy, can you stand up? It's so nice to see you and to be here with you.
Yeah.
And thank you to the museum for having this is such a great theater and incredible sound. So I'm so happy you got to see it on the big screen.
And also congratulations on the publication of your recent book, which I know maybe some here in the audience got a chance to pick up today, and hopefully more will be available later. But congratulations on that.
Thank you. It was really fun to revisit the photos from this film and remember that time, and so I'm glad that we have that.
Yeah, I was showing my kids, and they were like, "There's mommy, there's mommy." So it's so wonderful to be captured at this age in such a beautiful way. Like, not many people or actors or anybody really get to have such a, to be captured at that age at 16 in this way is a time capsule that I feel so lucky to have in my life.
And this latest book, which is called The Virgin Suicides, is a collection of photos just from this film, though your previous book, Sofia Coppola Archive, was kind of career spanning, right, from 1999 to 2023. But what was it about kind of unearthing that treasure trove of contact sheets and negatives that maybe had not seen the light of day as much as some of these other behind-the-scenes photos that made you think, oh, this deserves its own book?
Corinne Day, the photographer who took the photos, she was a photographer that I admired, and I was so happy that she came to the set and took these photos. So I was just a fan of her work, and we found this box of all the photos she took on that set that we couldn't, when we were working on my book. But there were so many more that I loved that I wanted to share with Kirsten and just share her work. And so I just loved the images and wanted to make a book of them because I enjoyed the process of making a book, and I love photo books, and wanted to share her photos and kind of a scrapbook of that time.
And it's an amazing collection of photos. They're truly beautiful, and as Kirsten said, they really capture there's something so feminine about them, so delicate, and as someone with a sister, it also makes me feel like this familial bond that you were able to share with your fellow cast members. As you mentioned, you were 16 when you made the film, Kirsten, and what was it when you first saw the script or when you went in for an audition that made this film stand out to you?
I read the script and I was actually kind of worried because it was a lot of things that I was feeling but hadn't expressed. They were very private, and I was worried about like kissing Josh in the car and making out with boys on the roof, which Soph didn't make me do. She was like, just nuzzle, into their shoulder and we'll shoot it abstractly. But I hadn't entered this side of my own personality, even though it was there. And we met in Toronto at the Four Seasons there, and I didn't have to audition, which was nice. I know you mentioned that. I was like, but yeah, what do you think, Soph? I mean, I
remember meeting you, like at the hotel with your mom.
Yeah.
And and Kirsten, like you just turned 16, and I loved Kirsten right away. Look, we hit it off right away, and then you just spent this great summer with Kirsten. All these kids were really the age of the characters. It's a pet peeve of mine growing up in teen movies. The actors are always like 30 years old, and you're like, that's not what it looks. It's such a huge difference, and so it was like this fun summer where everyone was kind of jumping in and helping make it. It was super low budget and my first film, and but I had like such a it was just a nice atmosphere and a lot of support from everyone.
And very natural. Like I feel like it was just like just like you'd roll, but it like just felt like we were living and breathing instead of like, any pressure of performance or anything. We actually shot in the house, and it was our house for that time. And that really informed the way I worked and my impression, the impression Sofia gave me as a young person, like really informed my taste and the kind of movies that I like to watch, or my process as an actress. Like that was an environment that I had never experienced before. So that kind of opened up, it was my education. Instead of going to film school, I was doing this and learning my own taste as I grew up.
And Sofia, as you mentioned, this is your first feature film, which is an incredible accomplishment. You were 29 when you made the film, but this wasn't really your first career necessarily. You had gone to art school, you hosted and co-directed a show on MTV, on Comedy Central, I'm sorry, on Comedy Central. You can find it on YouTube now because everything resurfaces on YouTube eventually. And you were acting in some of your father's films and others. You had a career as a model. But what was it that, about all of those previous experiences, that you think maybe informed your decision to start making movies and to make your own movie?
Yeah, I think because growing up on film sets and having my family in film, I wanted to do something different and didn't want to be so obvious to go into the family business. And I went to art school, and I knew I wanted to be a visual artist. And I was really frustrated because I had so many different interests, and I didn't know what I couldn't pick one. And then I made a short film, and I realized it's a combination of all the things that I really love, with photography and music and design, and so I loved that, but I still wasn't thinking of really doing that. And then when I read the book of the Virgin Suicides, I loved that book, and I thought, I'll just try to. Have I told this story too many times? I don't know if it's.
I feel like only you feel that way.
Okay.
I don't feel that way. I
Okay.
was like, they know this, but
Okay. Okay, well, I love the book, and I thought, I'll try. My dad always talked a lot about screenwriting and adapting, and so I thought I would just try as an experiment to adapt, a few chapters of how you do it as a film, because I heard someone else was making it into a film, and I heard they were making it really dark and all these things, and I thought, like, oh no, I love this book. I don't want them. I had an idea of how I thought it should be as a film, but I never thought I would do it, and then I kept writing it, and the more I got into it, the more I ended up writing a whole screenplay for something I didn't have the rights to, which my dad was like, don't ever do that. So don't do that. But then I met the producers, and they were these cool indie art producers that were open to hearing how my approach, and I just said, if it doesn't work out with the other director, will you please consider me? And I think I was just bold out of being naive of, not knowing if it would really happen, and eventually they said, okay, we'll give you a shot, which was just very cool of them. And I think they saw that I had made a reference book of how I knew how I wanted it to look, and I really had an idea, and I just loved the book so much. So I kind of had this blind faith that I would know how to do it, and then it was I was learning as we went, but I had this great team supporting me, and we had we shot it like in 28 days, and and it was a lot of pressure of being very low budget, and that we shot on film, and the scenes like where they're hanging out in the bedroom, we would just let the film roll, and the producer's like, you have to stop, we don't have enough money for all this film, and I was like, just keep letting it roll, let it roll, and that's like, just it had to have that feeling that they were just lying around forever, and I had a great DP, Ed Lachman, who really supported me, and as my first film, he really helped me. Like, I really had a lot of photo references of an idea of like the point of view of the camera, and he really supported me in finding the way I want to do it, as opposed to some DPs can be like, show you how to do it. And he was really helping me find the way I wanted it to be.
And that's actually a perfect segue into kind of the second half of this Q&A, which is really going to be informed by questions that our teen council submitted. So at the Academy Museum, we have a teen council. It's made up of teens from around Los Angeles, 31 of them, aged 14 to 18. It's a paid opportunity, and they advise on programs, education programs, and they've programmed a whole series this summer, which Bring It On is part of. And so they submitted some questions, and I know some of them are here this afternoon. So thank you all for being here and for sending in great questions. And one of them was actually about the way that you worked with Ed to use light to capture emotion, light and color to capture emotion. And so I'm curious, Ed is amazing. I mean, he's so thoughtful, and also I think thinks like a photographer himself, a still photographer. So I'm just curious what those conversations were like, if you could speak more about that collaboration with Ed.
Yeah, I think I always started film through photography. I'm a photography fan. I studied photography, and photography is always kind of the starting point of references into a story and a look. So I put images together to show Ed of what I had in mind, and he also loves photography, and we talked about Eggleston for the color, and also because the film is a memory. I thought of it as, when you look at old photos, that the camera doesn't move a lot, so you're imagining what is outside of the frame, and there's like a specific point of view from the boys across the street in their imagination. So I just worked with Ed at the beginning of looking at photos together, and then as we started filming, I think we found the language of the film as you're making it. I feel like it's always the first few days where you start to think, you find what the approach is going to be, and you kind of feel it out, and you're like, oh yeah, that feels right. And I think it's very intuitive, just looking through the viewfinder and just trying a few different things, and then seeing what feels like kind of what you had in mind in your imagination. And I also remember, if this is helpful to anyone, the producers being like, you have to have a shot list, we have to have a plan. And I was like, I don't know, I haven't seen the actors yet. And then until the actors block it out, you don't know what it's going to look like or where people are going to want to stand, and you want the actors to feel comfortable. So I think there's always working it out together with the actors before seeing that helps to then figure out what your shots are going to be.
And the next question, which I think is a good segue in terms of, finding the visual language for the film, and also for you, Kirsten, finding your character, finding the emotion, and learning how to get to the depth and core of Lux as a character. So the teen council asked, how did you prepare for that role emotionally?
It's strange because we did rehearsals at the house all together as a family. I didn't have a process then. I was more of just a, feeling as I go kind of actor. Now I have a process, but I didn't then. And I think there's something about being a child actor. I think you can either go one way or the other. And I think I just had an openness and was fearless. So that combo made everything feel very real, and the set felt very real. Like everything felt like we were in a home.
Because we had a real house that
Yeah.
we weren't moving around to locations. We actually like rehearsed in that house and made meals together.
Yeah.
Well, you guys started to like feel like a family unit.
Yeah.
But when did you start having a process?
Think so. After 27, I took one script to like every great acting coach from like New York to LA, and I found this one lady who I really loved, and she kind of changed acting for me because I needed to switch from like pleasing other people to pleasing myself, which I think is a big trap. And so I found this woman that Greta Seacat is her name, that Sofia also works with. Did you work with her in Virgin Suicides or no?
No, my cousin Chris
That's
Neal, who works with her,
right.
he helped me. He was there, but he's from the same school, and I worked with Greta, who's great, and yeah, I think just preparing like how you break down a script, it's helpful to have notes of things that connected to you personally, I guess.
Now I need it more probably than I did then now, but yeah, I use a lot of dream work for. I feel like I've talked about this too, but a lot of dream work. So you'll write yourself messages before you go to bed, specific about the character or the themes, or if you want to dive deeper into a certain scene, and then we analyze those dreams. So it comes from your unconscious, it comes from yourself, but it grounds you in a way that makes you feel very free and also like totally the person that you're about, that you're playing without any question. And then there's always external things like accents or things like that you have to work on, but that gave me a freedom that I never had before, and it made it more for myself rather than for anyone else.
How do you feel that working with that has changed how you choose roles, maybe?
I don't know, I'm very director driven. Like I don't really choose roles because I want to play a part. Like I go for director always. It's just a great script in the wrong hands, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It really doesn't. So to me, it's always director. Yeah.
And you came back to work with Sofia again, what, 7 years after filming Virgin Suicides to work on Marie Antoinette.
Oh yeah, I know, me too. I was like, wait, the Beguiled wasn't that close. Like, I totally forgot about Marie Antoinette.
Like old timers, I was like, what? Yes. And that, like, I felt it helped me a lot writing that to picture Kirsten, because and I thought because she is, the Austrian background or part German, I thought of Kirsten, and anyway, it helped me write that to picture Kirsten because I knew that she would have a playfulness with it.
And did you approach both that and the Beguiled? Like, was each time just a little bit more trust? Was it a little bit easier to work together? That's for either
I
of you.
thought that from the get-go. I felt like we always just were on the same page.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of it's taste and sense of humor. Like I know that I don't have to explain much, and she'll do something and I love it. And or so how I pictured it, but even something else. And it's just a collaboration that's so fun to watch and to trust someone. And I know that Kirsten will do anything for me. For me. No, I feel
No,
like,
I know. I feel the same way. It's true. I mean, there is a comfort, and you feel like, Sophia's the only person that if I'm really uncomfortable, I can say something to, too. Like, or see, we figure it out together. I feel like I'm on the same team. And also, a lot of times when you're with male directors, there is, they do choose you because there's something about you they like. Not just acting, but there's an essence that, and that's nice to not have. You know what I mean?
I mean, and for a film that is it's addressing the male gaze, the Virgin Suicides is addressing the male gaze, it's subverting it because it's made by a woman. So it's kind of, untangling all of that in a way. And speaking of process, I'm also curious, I know, Sofia, that when you write sometimes, or often, you're listening to music while you're writing. Can you talk a little bit about how music informs your writing process?
Yeah, it really helps me to listen to music and the mood. And when I was writing this script, I was listening to Air, their first album premiere, Symptoms, and it just felt like this dreamy memory, because the movie's a memory. It's taking place in the past. So I don't something about the music not being period, but being electronic and more contemporary, but referring to that era. It just felt, I don't know, it just felt like it was inspiring to me. So I think music always helps, and I try to listen to music when I'm writing that relates to the feeling, and it kind of seeps in. And we play music on the set, and it just makes the atmosphere kind of connect with what mood you're feeling.
Yeah, Soph played Crazy on You for that scene. And that was a really memorable night because the scene is, I mean, the shot is static and you see the lights turn on off in the house. And so like, I was like waiting. And they're like, okay, you can go. And I had to like jump on Josh in a car, which is, I was a very innocent 16-year-old. That was terrifying. But like the music and everything helped. I remember his wig fell off one time. So embarrassed. And he was like on the car ride home, he's like, I think you bit me. I was like, oh.
You guys had to ride home after?
Yes, it was.
It was really at night, and you had to run out.
Yeah, it all was very real, which is, you feel it. You know, when it's like a real shot of someone running, you see the lights, like I said, turn off in the house, and the timing of it was real, which gave you that kind of anxiety. Like watching it, even you feel that feeling of, you know, what you're about to do, and it's unexpected. But yeah, the song helped. That's what I was gonna say. It was helped to have a soundtrack for that shot.
We played that during the scene, and I think a lot of scenes it helps to play the music when we can.
Yeah.
When you know that you've maybe cleared it already too, because that can be a problem.
No, we didn't, but you have to do a take. You have to do a responsible take, I think, without the music.
I don't think we did do a responsible take.
Also from the teen council, they're curious, or they made the observation that, you know, for a movie that was made in the late 90s, that is set in 1975, it is still so relatable, even in 2025. And I would argue, you know, as new generations see this film, embrace this film, it's going to continue to be more and more resonant. So what is it about the story that you think allows it to accomplish that era spanning endurance?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, but it makes me so happy that that girls today connect with it, because we made it so long ago, and it didn't have an audience in the States. It didn't barely come out, so I was always surprised when people knew about it. And so it means a lot to me that it's reconnected with the girls the age of those characters. And I think I don't know if we were making it set in the 70s. We made it in the 90s, and I thought, you know, Nancy Steiner did such a great job of making the costumes look accurate to the period, but also appealing to an eye at that time. Like, they looked cool, and the fact that they still do is thanks to Nancy's talent. And I think, I don't know when things are a classic, like the photography is from, I don't know, so of that era. There were a lot of, I don't know, references of 70s photography that Ed Lachman really understood, and I remember showing him old like 70s Playboys, and this kind of playing with the idea of looking at women in this gauzy 70s way. And I don't really know, but I'm glad that it still connects. And I think when something's made with a lot of sincerity, maybe that people can sense that.
I just think it's I was thinking of movies that I liked growing up, or what taught me about film, or what my aesthetic was, and like a Persona, or, you know, all those. It's just a good movie that's shot well and done well. Like, I don't think it's specifically this story, it's the way Sofia took this story and brought it to life that resonates, I think.
Absolutely.
I love the book and the whole kind of idea of these boys, the mystery of girls, and kind of playing with that. I always thought was fun.
The teens were also curious whether, and I kind of mentioned this backstage briefly, but this wasn't necessarily a thing then, but did the cast go through any sort of sensitivity training? Because the topic is pretty heavy. So what kind of conversations did you have with these teens portraying teens about this heavy subject matter?
Yeah, that didn't exist, like the coach for love scenes and stuff. That didn't exist. There wasn't any of that. But I think because I'm not an intimidating person, and I try to be sensitive, make sure everyone's comfortable, and we talk about it. That was our, you know, my approach is always to make sure that we talk things through and everyone's comfortable, and I feel like it's, as the director, like the host, and you want everyone to be comfortable, and yeah.
I also didn't ever playing this role think about dying ever.
I know, I still don't even think it's about
yeah,
that.
I know.
It feels more metaphorical. They almost aren't like real human characters.
I mean, that shot of the Lux's arm outside the car in the garage, that's Sophia's arm. I wasn't even there. So to me, I'm like, did she die? It's very...
It's dreamy.
Yeah, it's dreamy. Yeah, it's
realistic.
not like, we never, I thought, yeah.
And we sort of touched on this a little bit, but it's just interesting to think about this being a film about girlhood, your first collaboration being a film about girlhood, and that Marie Antoinette is really kind of a film about womanhood, or about what it means to get married, to adjust to being an adult. So I guess I'm just curious how that deepened your process together when you thought to make this film together.
Yeah, I just feel like Kirsten knows how to express a side of me, and we're just on the same page in that way. So it was really great to be at a different stage in our lives where she could express that, and we can kind of discover a different phase. And now knowing her, she's a mother now, and so like to grow up together really. And I feel like a big sister to Kirsten. She found a picture the other day of I lent her a dress for her prom, and like I always feel like since we started to work together that I have that role, and so it's so cool that I always know I can turn to Kirsten when I'm trying to express a different stage of life or some experience that I know that she'll approach it with sensitivity and intelligence, and just to have that, I just know that she gets what I'm talking about.
And I know, I love it. And I know that in my performance in Sophia's hands will be in the best hands and care as well. So that's why I think too that directors, it means the most. And to me, that can be a first-time director or someone, more established, but there's something about the middle ground that I just don't, it's hard, I think that first time means a lot to me, and then people whose work I've already really admired now at this point in my life,
This is a fun question. The teens are curious if you have any pre-shoot rituals on this film or other projects, either that you did together or that you've gone on to do separately.
You get us in a circle, right?
Oh yeah, we have this thing in my family that comes from my dad's theater days called a puaba, where we all hold hands and say this word, and it brings good luck, and so it's a superstitious thing. But it brings the whole crew together to hold hands and have this little kind of prayer moment that we have a good shoot. And then rehearsing, I think, is just spending time together before shooting and doing things as the characters, doing these kind of improvs helped a lot. So when we rehearse, we don't really do the scenes, we don't practice the dialogue, we just do make situations that, like, because it was the family, we wanted to feel on the first day that they weren't just meeting. We spent time in the house, and they made lunch together and did things together as the characters. And so then when we started filming, I felt like they already had a shorthand and a familiarity, and I think that helps.
Did that with the Beguiled too. We had dance classes and sewing classes, and we cooked, and it really, really immediately, you get to know personalities, and you can
dynamics,
use those dynamics and magnify them for your role, and
The teens are also curious, and I wonder why. What piece of advice you would give your teenage self? Maybe, Kirsten, from today, if you could give the girl who's playing Lux.
You want the real answer? Don't take this person.
I think I would tell my teenage self to be nicer to herself.
Yeah, I feel like that's something we all need all the time, to be honest. Yeah. A lot of that, always. I have to think on that. Yeah, that's good though, what you said.
Yeah, it was good. And I was remembering something that Angelica Houston told me as a young person. I was just telling a friend. She told me, not everyone's gonna love you, so don't try to get everyone to love you. Which was so oh, really? And to not spend so much time some people are going to get you and some people are not, and just if they don't get you, then move on to. And I feel like that with my projects when I make them, when I try to get things going. There's people that like they get it, and there's some people that don't get it. So when they don't get it, move on and find people that connect with what you're doing. Don't be discouraged because some people aren't going to get it. You just have to find your people that that you want to work with that get what you're trying to do. And I think it's always really important to do what you love and not to try to think of like, what people want to see, but to really, for me at least, like, and that if you're interested in it, the chances are that there's someone else out there that's going to be interested in that story.
Even when I'm working with, well, you just said something that made me think, like, I never think anyone's ever going to see it. Ever. Like, the movie I just did, I was like, I don't know what I did there, but I cannot believe that someone's gonna sit in the audience and watch this. Like, that's how gnarly I got, which is kind of weird. I'm like, why don't you ever think that anyone's gonna forget? I never think anyone's gonna watch it.
I think that's better because you're more free, because you're not thinking. I think if you're thinking about there's gonna be an audience, then it's too scary. You just have to focus on what you're making and making it.
Yeah.
I think if you think about what the reaction will be, then it'd be too paralyzing. So I think
it would.
You just have to jump in and get into, and it's fun. You get to be with, learn from the people you're working with, and so I think doing the things that you love and are interested in is the best advice.
Yeah, I feel like the older you get, the more free that I feel in my work and creativity. And I guess as a younger person, I would tell myself that you were exactly where you are, because we have to go through those things to realize and make the things we want to later in life.
And don't take no for an answer. That's one of my mottos.
And as a last question, what do you hope that young people, well, actually, I didn't even ask this at the beginning, but how many of you are seeing this for the first time or saw this for the first time today?
Oh, wow, a lot of people.
Oh, that's like, yeah, a lot of people. That's amazing. So for those of in the audience who saw this for the first time today, or youth who are seeing this film, discovering this film, rediscovering it, and this is a question for both of you. What do you hope they take away from it? Whether it's the film itself or, just seeing that a woman made a film, like that, that can be inspiring in and of itself,
Oh, I just think, I'm just happy when you make something, you want it to connect with other people. That's why you make things. And so I just hope, that if somebody gets something from it, if they get inspired the way I do when I see a film or photography, or just that you're not alone, that when we see art or films, that's what connects us. So that's what my hope would be.
Yeah, I would say that movies are my favorite things. Like an impression on you as an artist or a writer or whoever is in the audience, I think that when you see art that you connect with, that just continues your own journey through your own artistry.
Yeah, and just to be able to get lost in the world for 2 hours is, and also that seeing it together in a theater is such a different experience than just alone at home. I feel like I love the experience of feeling the emotion. And when Trip Fontaine first walks down the hallway, I remember the first screening of seeing this, I could feel like the electricity in the audience, and I felt like that's when the movie starts to take off for me. So I just think all those kind of moments where you get to share that with an audience is such a great experience.
I think we felt that here today too, during that scene. Well, Kirsten and Sofia, thank you both so much for being here this afternoon.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming.